Perfect. We're about to begin class. Today's lesson, a king for Israel, on page 19. Go ahead, take out your notebooks, take out your books. That way you can follow along as we begin today's lesson. A king for Israel. That is the title for today's lesson. A king for Israel. All right, go ahead and write that down as fast as possible. A king for Israel. As we've been mentioning, we are going through the kings of Israel and through the history of the children of Israel, or later they're known as the tribe of Judah or the country of Judah. And they have several different names. But to really understand their history and their how they came to be a nation and how they came to have their king, we first got to talk about the history and what led to it. You know what I'm saying? Today we're going to be actually talking about the very first king. We already met Elkanah, who was who? Can someone tell me who was Elkanah? Yes. Samuel's father. Who was Samuel's mother? Yes. Hannah, correct. After that, we then have Samuel. All right? And why is Samuel important? Who does Samuel become? Yes. 100%. He becomes the next prophet or the next priest of Israel. Who was the priest before Samuel? Yes. Eli. What were Eli's two sons' names? Give me one. Hophni? Phinehas. Good, good. Were Hophni and Phinehas good people? No. They actually were pretty poor representations of their father and ignored his teachings and ignored his lifestyle and absolutely just lived in sin and did not follow God or God's will for their life. And because of that, what happens? What did God do? Somebody. Yes. He killed them. But overall, what did he do to them and the country? Yes.
Punish them.
Yes. What's another word for that?
Discipline.
No. He judged them. He judged them. Now, I agree. It is similar, but it's not the exact same thing. Now, Pastor Eric, we're not supposed to judge. Here's the thing. God is a holy God. And when he has selected you, and you decide to disobey, you decide to lie, you decide to go against God, due to his holiness, he has to judge that. That is why he punished Israel. That is why he punished Hophni and Phinehas. So, picking up today, in this lesson, we talked about, yesterday's lesson, we talked about how due to their to the judgment, Hophni and Phinehas died the same day. Children of Israel lost in battle. What was captured during that battle? Yes. The Ark of the Covenant. Great job. They lost the Ark of the Covenant, so they, because the Philistines captured it, they took it back to their church and their synagogue and put it next to their God. Can someone tell me the name of their God? Yes. Dagon. I don't think I told you what Dagon looks like, but the Bible actually describes what Dagon looks like. Does anybody know what he looked like? Yes. No. Dagon, let me tell you. Dagon actually looked like a mermaid, basically, a merman. Half of his body was a fish, was like a fish, and half of his body was like a man. That was their God, little g, remember? What happened to Dagon with the Ark of the Covenant? Yes. They placed the Ark of the Covenant lower than Dagon, but as time passed and they had the Ark of the Covenant, they would find that Dagon would be removed from the wall or removed from his high place and actually on the ground, lower than the Ark of the Covenant. Then it happened so often that the Ark of the Covenant actually, or excuse me, not the Ark of the Covenant, that Dagon actually broke into several pieces. Why did that happen? Yes, it's because of the Ark of the Covenant. But was it because of the Ark of the Covenant or because of something else? Kai?
Because of their sin and them and their God being lower than ours.
Not yes and no, not quite the answer I'm looking for. Yes. Good. There we go. I'll take that. So the Ark of the Covenant is not God, but the Ark of the Covenant was blessed with God's presence or the Spirit, and because they put the Ark of the Covenant lower, God made His presence known and therefore destroyed Dagon. That's why it happened. Does that make sense? Again, the Ark of the Covenant is not God by any means, but God blessed it and allowed His presence to be within or with the Ark of the Covenant, right? So, moving on after that, the Philistines give back the Ark of the Covenant and allow Israel to have it back again. And this is where our story begins. At this point, we're talking about Samuel. Samuel, he is the next pastor, the next priest, the next prophet, and he is out preaching and doing miracles and sacrificing. Because of one of his sermons, there was revival in the city. The children of Israel turned away from their wicked sin and from their idol worship and turned back to Christ. We talked about how you and I get to do the same thing. Because of God's power, His grace, His forgiveness, you and I can get to turn away from our sin and turn back to Christ and be in fellowship with Him as He originally designed it for. Then, this is what we're going to be talking about today. What ends up happening is Israel starts getting jealous. What? Jealous of what? Genuinely, they start getting jealous of everyone else. On page 19, the book says, a new government is inaugurated for Israel, making the transition from rule by God with judges as administrators to rule by an earthly king. Moses indicated in Deuteronomy chapter 17, verses 14 through 20, that one day Israel would demand a king, and that day has come. If you open up your notes, your first point here, or not your first note, but what has happened was Israel transitioned from following God to following man. Okay, they want a king. Go ahead and write that down. Israel changed or transitioned from following God to following man. That Transition. Transition. Oh, yes. Israel transitioned. Transitioned. Excuse me. I forgot the ED. Transitioned from ruled by God to ruled by man. Ruled by God to ruled by man. Samuel was not on board for this idea. He knew this would be bad because their king is God. God is the king. He is the king of the universe. He is the king over his country, over his people. He was confused because these people wanted a king when they forgot they have one. Who was that? That was God. So they met. Samuel met with the elders in the camp, and they were talking, and they said, look, you have to go talk to God. This doesn't make sense. We don't agree with this. So he went and talked to God. God agreed. This shouldn't happen. But the people were adamant. We want a king. We get God is the God, and He is the God of the universe, and He is the king. But no, what happened was Samuel, sad to say, even though he grew up in the same house as Hophni and Phinehas, Samuel's sons, his children, actually turned out a lot like Hophni and Phinehas. They did not follow their father's plan or his lifestyle. They turned away from God and actually fell in love with making money and desiring money. And due to this, the people told them, Samuel, if we're being honest, you're really old at this point. Samuel's really old. So they told him, hey, you're really old and we don't feel comfortable with your sons. And Samuel couldn't really argue with that. So he went back to God, told them what they said, and finally, God said, you know what? I will answer the request. I will give you an earthly king. In this situation, letter D, we see here the true reason for the request was revealed. In other words, that whole thing about Samuel's sons, yeah, that was all baloney. The people didn't really care about Samuel or his sons. What they really cared about, listen to this, that we also may be like all the nations. That was literally it. They got jealous. That we may be like all the other nations. God's plan for Israel was to be distinctive and to exhibit his power and glory to other nations. Yes.
Why would the Israelites be jealous when God has blessed them over and over again?
That's a great question. Why would the Israelites be jealous when God has blessed them over and over again? I completely agree. But what happened is, a lot of times, as we do, they get complacent. They get comfortable. And then what is a blessing to them, they don't see as a blessing. They don't really care. They get jealous. Sin comes into their lives and they say, you know what? We want something new. We want something better. I was talking to a friend this morning. I usually try to go work out in the mornings of just trying to be healthy. And I told my friend, you know what? I'm really thankful and I praise God because in the last 24 hours, okay? In the last 24 hours, I was either a minute before or a minute after a car accident. What I mean by that is yesterday when I was picking up lunches, I'm just driving. I love driving. It's comfortable for me. I like driving the big blue van. I like driving my truck. It's just, it calms me down. I really enjoy it. And this is what happens. People get complacent, which means they get satisfied or maybe they get used to something, and so then they take things for granted. Israel, in this situation, didn't need a king. Why? Because they had God as their king. But they weren't satisfied. And so what I'm saying about my story was, yesterday I went to go pick up lunches for school. And while I'm driving, I drive down the road like I normally do, go and pick up the lunch, come back on the same road. And as I'm coming back, I see that there's two cars in the middle of the road, but they're stopped. And as I get closer, I realize they wrecked. And there's a whole bunch of glass all over the place. When I was just there not 5 minutes earlier, I said, man, that's, thank you, God, for keeping me safe. Well, then this morning, I'm up, I'm driving. It's 5:20, 5:30 in the morning. I'm coming down the road over here on this street. And over here by the pizza place over here, I see there's hardly anyone on the road. It's 5:30 in the morning, but I see two cars in the middle of the street. And as I get closer, I realize, same thing. Those two cars just had a really bad accident right here. And I got there I got there before the police did. As I was driving by, I noticed that everyone was safe or everyone was okay, so they didn't need my help. But if you don't realize how God protects you or how God is blessing you, You tend to get satisfied, and sometimes we get complacent and we say, you know what, this isn't good enough. And be like the children of Israel, we tend to want more. We tend to want a new thing when like our friend here said, God has been blessing you. Why can't you just be satisfied with what God is doing in your life? But oftentimes, sadly, just like the children of Israel, we want something else. We want something new. We want something different. That's a good question there. I appreciate you asking me that. Finally, letter E, still on page 19. God answered. God gave Israel a king. And looking at letter F, Saul, the son of Kish, was from the tribe of Benjamin. He was a mighty man of power. He was the best looking and tallest young man among the children of Israel. Saul was doing an ordinary task in chapter 9, verses 3 to 20, while looking for his father's lost mules. Saul and his servant met Samuel, and then Samuel told Saul that he would be the first king of Israel. Turn the page. Saul's response reflected humility in chapter 9, verse 21. He was from the smallest tribe of Israel and the least important family in the tribe. I think it's very important to know. Write this down. Write this down. Saul is from the tribe of Benjamin. Saul. Are you writing this down? They gave you paper so you can write this down. Saul is from the tribe of Benjamin. Saul, S-A-U-L, Saul. S-A-U-L, Saul. Is from the tribe of Benjamin. He is from the smallest tribe and the least important family in the tribe. He is from the smallest tribe and the least important family in the tribe. Yes.
So I know there's tribes, different tribes. What tribe are we from?
We'll talk about that later. Saul is from the smallest tribe and the least important tribe.
And the least important tribe? What do you mean?
Oh, excuse me. And the least important family in the tribe. Thank you for saying that. The least important family in the tribe. What they're trying to show you is that Saul literally was no one of no one. Like, no one cared about him. How many of you have younger siblings? All right, let's be honest. How many times have you forgotten you have younger siblings? Okay, now imagine a country of 12 tribes, okay, him being from the smallest tribe and then being from the least important family in the tribe, okay? Y'all know what a totem pole is? A totem pole that has like different faces and stuff?
Yeah.
The totem pole, depending on what kind of totem pole and all this and that, basically it's a hierarchy of like, it shows who is in what position, all right? It's usually the chief, then a warrior, then the common people. Well, Saul didn't even make it on the totem pole, okay? He was like the dirt, okay? He was no one. And God chose him to become the first king of Israel. And not only that, when Saul was called, he answered with humility. When Saul was called, write this down, he answered with humility. When Saul was called, he answered with humility. Yes.
When Saul was cold?
Called.
Like, oh.
Bless you.
He answered with humility. He answered with humility.
Once you write that down, go ahead and write number 1. These are the 3 notes I got for you today. As the book tells us, Saul, while he met Samuel, was actually doing it wasn't a small task, but it wasn't a super big major task. A lot of people at this time were shepherds, all right? We talk about how David, later he was a shepherd. He was watching over sheep. So, Saul's father being a shepherd or having mules, the mules got out, and so Saul was looking for the mules. This is what I want you to write down. Number 1. Before God can give you the big, right? Before God can give you the big, before God can give you the big, you have to obey in the small. Before God can give you the big, you have to obey in the small. What do I mean by that? A lot of times I feel like when I'm talking to teenagers and I tell them, hey, God might have you do something. God might be calling you saying, hey, wake up, I'm talking to you. And oftentimes teenagers think, well, if I say yes to God, that means he's going to send me as a missionary to Africa. Or that means I'm going to go work and not make a lot of money because I work for a church. Or maybe God's going to send me to be a teacher and I'm not good with kids. Before God gives you the big whatever, that big calling, you have to obey in the small. What does that mean? Honor thy father and thy mother, okay? If you don't have a good relationship with your parents because you can't obey your parents, don't worry about him sending you to Africa. Worry about and focus on obeying your parents. Maybe you say, okay, well, I have a good relationship with my parents. I obey my parents. But you lie. Before you can be a preacher, preaching the word of God and talking about the things of God, you should focus on your tongue right now and maybe not lie. Maybe not cuss if some of you cuss. I was walking up the stairs and I heard one of you cuss today. All right, I'm not going to call you out on who it was, but maybe you have certain things that you need to work on right now that are small before God gives you the big. Before God gives you, hey, so-and-so, I want you to be a missionary. Hey, so-and-so, I want you to be a police officer. Hey, so-and-so, I want you to be a nurse. I want you to be a lawyer. I want you to be a school teacher. Before God gives you any of that, learn how to obey in the small. Before he made Saul king of Israel, he was obedient in the small, helping his dad out, trying to find his animals. You understand what I'm saying? Don't worry about the big picture when you haven't even figured out how to follow the little things. Moving on. Number 2. I like this quote. Number 2. Before honor comes humility. Before honor comes humility. Oftentimes when we think of kings, we think, oh, look at David fighting Goliath, killing Goliath, leading his strong men. David was an absolute genius of a general and leader when he was in battle. But before you can become that really well-known player, that really well-known student, that really well-known king, that really well-known whatever, you fill in the blank, before honor comes humility. Before you can become that great leader, you first got to learn how to follow. No one's going to just, listen up. No one's going to want to follow you if you aren't willing to be humble in your request and do the little things. We're going to talk about that later as well. Before honor comes humility. Write the Bible verse down. Proverbs 15:33. Proverbs 15:33. Lastly, 15:33. 15:33. Proverbs 15:33. Lastly, number 3. Number 3. Number 3. Like Saul, we need a new heart. Like Saul, we need a new heart to be able to be in fellowship with God. Like Saul, we need a new heart to be able to be in fellowship with God. Like Saul, we need a new heart to be able to be in fellowship with God. What do I mean by this? Look at page 20 in your books. On page 20, at the top of it, number 3, the book says, Samuel told Saul, okay, so this is right after he already told him, hey, they're going to be king. Samuel told Saul of the special events that would happen on his journey home. And that's chapter 10, verse 1 to 10. This is what I mean. Listen up. Saul would receive the Spirit of God and become another man. He received the Spirit of God and became a new man. Okay, became different. When these events happened, Saul was sure that he was God's choice. You and I have the opportunity to follow God in today's day and age. But before we can do any of that, you need a new heart. You need to become a new man. Still you, but now redeemed by the blood of Christ. Redeemed by the grace of God. You understand what I'm saying? I love you guys. Thank you all for this first week. We're gonna wrap up, and then I'll talk to you after the video.